They said Olivia's drink was the sweetest in the market. But no one knew it was mixed with water from her mortuary. Each morning, she would set out to the market with hope in her heart and pain in her eyes. She arranged her table, wiped her bottles clean, and chased away flies that seemed to be her only customers. People passed her stall without stopping. Some smiled politely, others waved her off, yet a few steps away, they would buy from her neighbor. The same Zobo drink, the same cup, but a different fate. Olivia watched them. Watched Amanda, her neighbor, sell out her drinks before noon. Watched her return with a new batch and still sell everything again. Sometimes Olivia would lower her price. Sometimes she'd go round the market hawking her drink under the sun. Yet she would come home with unsold bottles and a broken spirit. Every evening, she sat by her stall, pretending to rearrange her wares just so her tears wouldn't be noticed. Her eyes followed Amanda's shining car as it left the market. Her heart ached seeing Amanda's children visit, neatly dressed, healthy, and laughing. Each time she looked at her own children, she saw hunger staring back. All 5 of them had dropped out of school to help her sell, yet nothing changed. The more they tried, the poorer they became. Hunger lived with them, slept beside them, and woke before dawn. Her husband, Lucas, was no comfort. He rode his motorcycle each morning, but it was never for work. He spent his days in bars, drinking on credit, and returned home drunk and angry. When Olivia asked for money, it became a fight. Their neighbors had grown used to the sound of their quarrels echoing through the night. Sometimes, people he owed would come to their house to collect their money. Money he drank away while his children starved. He didn't only drink, he chased women too. So Olivia stopped expecting him to be a husband. She lived like a widow whose husband still breathed. Each night, she cried herself to sleep, quietly, so her children wouldn't hear. But silent tears never feed a family. Then came the day that broke her completely. Her last child, little Regina, fell gravely ill. Olivia rushed her to the community health center, praying for a miracle. The doctor's words struck her like thunder. Your child suffers from severe malnutrition. She needs treatment immediately. $500. $500. A mountain she could never climb. She fell to her knees, begging, but the doctor only said, your tears can't pay for medicine. Olivia went everywhere that day. From one neighbor to another, from friends to strangers. Some avoided her. Others lied that they had no money. Even her closest friend, Quincy, the woman she once shared meals with, hid her money the moment she saw Olivia enter. Olivia begged her, voice shaking, eyes red. But Quincy's words came like knives. Do I look like a bank to you? Am I the one that gave birth to those children? If your daughter dies, that's her fate. You're beautiful, Olivia. You have what men want. Go find one and use what you have to get what you need. Stop disturbing me. And just like that, she turned away, holding the money she claimed she didn't have. Olivia walked out of that house empty. Empty in her hands, empty in her heart. When she returned to the hospital, the doctor had already placed Regina on a chair. He said they needed the bed for those who could pay. And there, before her eyes, her little girl stopped breathing. Not because God called her home, but because poverty did. Olivia buried her daughter with trembling hands and a heart full of rage. That night, she didn't just cry, she made a vow. A vow that she would never be poor again. That she would make money by any means, even if it meant staining her hands with sin. And from that night, Olivia changed. The market would soon taste her new kind of sweetness. The sweetness that came from death itself. The days that followed were heavy, filled with hunger, sorrow, and desperation. Olivia could no longer bear the cries of her children echoing through the broken walls of her home. Every time she looked at them, she saw the ghost of the one she had already lost, the child poverty snatched from her arms. She made a vow never to bury another child because of lack. But vows don't feed the hungry. And prayers alone couldn't change her life. So, her mind began to wander. She needed a miracle. She needed something that could end her struggles, lift her out of the mud, and silence Amanda, her proud neighbor at the market, who always mocked her tattered clothes and poor sales. Then one evening, as the rain drizzled through her leaking roof, a thought crept in, a native doctor. Someone powerful. Someone who could change her story overnight. She asked questions quietly. She didn't want people to know. She wanted her rise to look clean, natural, a miracle everyone would envy but never understand. But when the heart begins to thirst for dark things, darkness will always answer. One night, while scrolling through her phone, she found a TikTok video that changed everything. A video of a famous native doctor with thousands of followers. His comment section was filled with testimonies. He made me rich overnight. He brought my business back to life. He changed my destiny. Olivia's heart raced. She watched the video again and again. Then she saved the address and made a deadly decision. That night, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow, my story will change." The next morning, she handed her last coins to her first son. "Go and buy bread for your siblings," she said softly. She didn't tell him where she was going. She didn't pack her zobo to sell. She only knew one thing: when she returned, her life would never remain the same again. That bread, she told herself as she watched him run down the lane, would be the last poor, unhealthy food her children would ever eat. The journey was long and strange. Olivia walked through thick bushes, across shallow rivers, and narrow paths where even birds feared to fly. The sun was fierce, and her slippers broke halfway through. Still, she pressed on. Hours later she found it, a small mud shrine standing in the middle of nowhere, covered in red cloth and bones. The smell of old blood filled the air. Then he came out. An old man, wrinkled, tall, but strong. His eyes glowed faintly, and when he smiled, Olivia's legs trembled. "Remove your shoes," he said. "You don't enter power with filth." Inside the shrine were skulls, animal skins, and burning candles that gave off blue flames. Olivia's heart pounded, but something in her whispered, "It's too late to turn back." The man circled her 3 times, chanting words she didn't understand. Then, in a deep voice, he said, "You're welcome, Olivia, the great daughter of the land." Olivia froze. She hadn't told him her name. That was all the proof she needed, that she was in the right place. The old man looked into her eyes. "You were never meant to be poor," he said slowly. "Even your God knows that. But for you to rise, you must pay a price. Every glory demands a sacrifice." Olivia's lips shook. "What sacrifice?" The old man smiled, revealing blackened teeth. "You must become a widow." Olivia gasped. "Your husband must die," he continued. "You will not bury him. You will wash him every day, and use that water to make your zobo. With each drink, your wealth will grow. Your name will spread. Even the rich will bow to your success." Olivia sat still, her heart racing fast. But then his tone darkened. "Every person who drinks from your zobo will lose their life slowly. Their years will become mine. Their destiny will feed your business. Some will die quickly, others will fall sick and never recover. But you, Olivia, you will prosper." A cold chill ran down her spine. She wanted to scream. She wanted to leave. But before she could speak, his eyes turned red. "Once the secret is revealed to you," he said, "you can never turn back. To refuse now is death." Olivia froze in fear. She thought of her hungry children, her husband who had brought nothing but pain, the endless suffering she had endured. Maybe this was her only chance. Maybe this was what fate wanted. The old man reached into a clay pot and brought out a small black powder. "Add this to his food," he said. "The moment he swallows it, your new life begins." Olivia's hands trembled as she took it. When she stepped out of the shrine, the wind whispered behind her, and the birds refused to sing. The world suddenly felt colder, quieter. She didn't know it yet, but that single choice had opened the door to something she would never be able to close. Olivia didn't waste time this time. Her mind was made up, and her heart had grown too tired of pain. On her way home that evening, she bought a bottle of drink, the very one her husband, Lucas, would never say no to. That night, when Lucas returned, everything about him seemed unusual. He didn't come back with his motorcycle. He didn't shout at anyone. He didn't even look angry, as if the storm that always lived inside him had suddenly gone silent. It was as though his spirit already knew he wouldn't see the morning light. Olivia stood quietly, watching him walk into the house. She forced a smile and went close to him. For the first time in many years, she wrapped her arms around her husband and hugged him tightly. Lucas was surprised. He looked at her face, wondering if he was dreaming. The Olivia he knew had stopped caring about him long ago. Before he could say a word, she handed him a glass of the drink, the same drink she had already mixed with the black substance the native doctor gave her. Lucas hesitated for a moment, staring at her. But love, or maybe habit, made him take it. He smiled faintly and gulped it down. Olivia watched him closely, rubbing his head softly like a caring wife. A calm smile touched her lips as she whispered in her heart, "At last, my suffering is ending tonight." Moments later, Lucas began to cough. His body trembled, his eyes rolled back, and his voice faded into silence. That was it. He didn't wake up the next morning. Whatever happened that night became a secret that only Olivia and the native doctor knew. She waited until the night grew silent, then dragged Lucas's body to the backyard. There, behind the house, was an old abandoned room, a forgotten space nobody ever cared to visit. She broke the padlock, pulled him inside, and locked the door again. That became her secret chamber, her little mortuary. Olivia told herself she would keep his death a secret. That way, no one would ask to bury him. No one would question anything. And she could complete the ritual the native doctor instructed, using the water from bathing his corpse to prepare her zobo. Before morning, she carefully bathed him, whispering under her breath. She sprayed strong air freshener across the room, the kind that could silence even the smell of death. Then she gathered the water she used in bathing him and stored it in a container. That was what she would mix in her zobo. When the new day came, the world moved on. Nobody knew what had happened inside that house. Neighbors began to wonder where Lucas had gone. Days turned into weeks, yet his motorcycle was never seen again. The man who always made noise whenever he returned home had suddenly vanished. Some whispered that he must have run away to live with another woman. Others said he had traveled far and abandoned his family. But none of them knew that Lucas was still right there, lying silent in that dark room behind the house. Olivia continued her life like nothing happened. But something had changed. From the very day she started mixing that water in her zobo, her life turned around. Her drink became irresistible. People who passed her stall couldn't control themselves. They just had to stop and buy. Some even paid double, just to be served first. Amanda, who once mocked her, watched her customers vanish one by one. Within weeks, Amanda's shop went dry, and she was forced to close down completely. Olivia became the queen of zobo in the entire market. People came from far and near, just to have a taste of her magical drink. Her name spread like wildfire. Her face glowed. Her stall never ran empty. But behind the sweetness of her zobo hid something bitter. Every cup carried a curse. Every sip stole destinies. People began to fall sick, confused, weak, yet no one suspected the smiling woman behind the counter. In less than a month, Olivia bought a car and a new house. Poverty became a memory. Late one night, she packed her belongings quietly. When everyone had fallen asleep, she carried Lucas's body into her car and drove off to her new home. She placed him in one of the rooms and locked the door tight. By morning, she returned to pick up her children, pretending as if nothing had happened. People gossiped endlessly about her sudden wealth. Some said she had found a rich man. Others said her late daughter, Regina, was sending her blessings from the spirit world. But they were all wrong. What Olivia had wasn't luck. It wasn't help. It was something darker, something that would soon rise from the shadows to claim what she owed. Life had finally turned sweet for Olivia. Her business was booming, her children were healthy, and for the first time in years, her home was peaceful, free from Lucas' constant shouts and endless complaints. Every day, customers crowded her shop like bees around honey, and the aroma of her zobo filled the entire street. Even those who once mocked her, like Quincy and the other jealous neighbors, now came knocking at her door, pleading for a second chance, pretending they had always cared. But Olivia didn't look back. She had suffered too much to entertain old wounds. Her success grew so fast that she could barely handle it alone. She needed someone to help her, someone to pack the cans, serve the customers, and buy ingredients at the market. And just when she whispered this need in her heart, help appeared, as if heaven itself was listening. That evening, while Olivia was loading her Zobo cans into the car, a young lady in her mid-20s approached her. She had a calm smile, soft voice, and a humble look that melted hearts. "Let me help you, Ma," she said gently. Before Olivia could refuse, the lady had already started lifting the cans carefully into the trunk, arranging them neatly as though she had done it all her life. Her quiet humility and precision drew Olivia's admiration. When she finished, Olivia smiled and stretched out some cash as appreciation. But the young woman shook her head and said, "No, Ma. I didn't help you for money. I just wanted to assist." That moment melted Olivia's heart. Who still did good freely in a world where kindness had price tags? That night, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about her. The next morning, she found herself asking the lady, whose name was Deborah, to become her sales girl. Deborah agreed immediately. But unknown to Olivia, that encounter was not by chance. It was a trap beautifully set. Behind Deborah's innocent smile was a plan crafted by Amanda, the woman whose pride was shattered the day she lost all her Zobo customers to Olivia. Amanda wanted revenge, and she sent her younger sister, Deborah, to uncover the secret behind Olivia's sudden rise. And just as Amanda planned, everything went smoothly. Deborah became part of Olivia's home. Her humility and loyalty captured Olivia's heart. She treated her like a daughter, showered her with gifts, and even defended her before others. Soon, people began to say they looked like sisters. But as the saying goes, it is the rat inside the house that tells the one outside there's fish in the pot. Deborah was the eye of the enemy, and every move Olivia made, Amanda heard about it. Weeks passed, and Deborah's act grew deeper. One morning, she arrived at work looking tattered, as if life had beaten her overnight. Tears streamed down her face as she told Olivia that armed boys had broken into her house, stolen everything, and left her with nothing. Olivia's heart broke instantly. She couldn't bear seeing Deborah that way. She asked her to move into her house until things got better. Deborah acted grateful. She even hugged Olivia tightly, her face pressed against the woman whose secret she was sent to destroy. But inside her eyes lay a silent victory. She had finally entered the lion's den. Days turned into weeks, and Deborah began to notice something strange. Every morning before sunrise, Olivia would quietly take a bowl and a towel and enter a small room opposite her bedroom. She would stay there for minutes and come out, heading straight to the kitchen where she prepared the Zobo. No one was ever allowed to enter that room. No one. Whenever Deborah offered to help with the Zobo, Olivia would smile and say, "Don't worry, I can handle it." That was when curiosity began to eat Deborah like termites in wood. She told her sister, Amanda, about it, and Amanda urged her to find out what was inside that mysterious room. So one morning, when Olivia and her children were heading to the market, Deborah pretended to have a stomach upset and stayed back. She waited until they left, then tiptoed to the door of the mysterious room. She tried to open it, but it was locked. The keys were with Olivia. Disappointment washed over her face, but she wasn't ready to give up. She vowed she would enter that room even if it took her life. And so, she made a wicked plan. That night, she mixed sleeping tablets into Olivia's food, enough to knock her and the children into deep sleep. Then she searched the house for hours until she found the key. With trembling hands and heart pounding fast, Deborah slid the key into the lock. It clicked. Slowly, she opened the door. What she saw inside froze her blood. On a mat, in the corner of the dark room, lay an almost decaying body, half human, half gone, the body of a man she had never seen before. The air smelled of death and secrets. Deborah's breath seized in her chest. She wanted to scream, but fear glued her lips. She ran outside, grabbed her phone, and dialed Amanda. No answer. She sent a quick WhatsApp voice note. Her words trembled through the recorder as she said, "Amanda, there's a dead body inside Olivia's house. Please come with the police now." But before she could turn, a shadow fell over her. She turned slowly, and there stood Olivia behind her. Her face was calm, too calm, and her eyes, burning with something Deborah had never seen before. And right there, Deborah realized, Olivia had heard everything. It all happened so fast. Before Deborah could even speak a word in her defense, Olivia had already struck her down. The room went silent, her heartbeat echoing like a drum of guilt. That was the moment reality hit Olivia. The angel she once thought Deborah was, had been nothing but a snake hiding under white linen. Deborah was not innocent. She was a spy, sent by Amanda, Olivia's greatest rival. Panic rushed through Olivia's veins like fire. She grabbed Deborah's phone and tried unlocking it, but the password was unknown. Time was running out. If the police arrived and saw the two lifeless bodies, Deborah and Lucas, she knew her end had come. Her mind raced. Her heart pounded. And then, her eyes caught the reflection of her swimming pool. An idea. A dark one. Within moments, she dragged their bodies out, one heavy with death, the other cold with silence, and lowered them gently into the pool. She sealed it shut with tiles and covers until it looked like a normal floor. No one would ever know a pool had once existed there. Except maybe an architect. Just as she finished, a loud knock thundered at her gate. "Open up. Police." Voices filled the air, demanding entry. Fear washed over Olivia. She composed herself quickly, took a deep breath, and opened the gate after pretending to have just woken up. "Why did it take you so long?" they asked. She lied, saying she had been asleep. The police showed her a warrant. They had received reports that she stored corpses in her home. Olivia smiled faintly and denied everything. The search began. They turned everywhere upside down, the rooms, the store, the mortuary space, but her house looked too clean, too perfect to raise suspicion. In the end, they apologized and left. But Amanda wasn't fooled. She demanded to know where her salesgirl, Deborah, had gone. Olivia smiled and said calmly, "She went to the market to get ingredients for tomorrow's zobo." The police nodded and left, taking Amanda along. Olivia exhaled deeply. She had escaped, for now. But she knew the bodies couldn't remain there forever. That night, when the world would be asleep and darkness could hide her sins, she planned to take them to the native doctor for help. However, unknown to her, when the police had earlier entered her mortuary, they perceived a strange, foul smell that made them uneasy. It was too strong to ignore. Amanda, still suspicious, convinced them to wait quietly outside her gate, believing that if Olivia truly had something to hide, she would try to move it under the cover of darkness. And so, they waited. Patiently. Watching. When midnight finally came, Olivia drove out quietly. The road was still, the air heavy. She thought the storm was behind her, but fate was standing right at her gate. There they were. Policemen. With Amanda. Waiting. They ordered her to open the trunk. Her hands trembled. She refused. They snatched the key and forced it open, and what they saw froze the night in silence. 2 bodies. One fresh. One decaying. Both dead. Olivia tried to run, but it was too late. They caught her and dragged her away as she screamed for mercy that would never come. After intense questioning, she confessed. Every single detail. The truth spread faster than fire. Her name flooded the market, social media, and every tongue in town. People who once bought her zobo screamed in horror. Neighbors who thought Lucas had abandoned his family stood in disbelief, unable to comprehend that he had been there all along, lifeless, hidden beneath her home. And everyone began to ask the same painful question. How many more like Olivia still walk among us? Because every day, people fall sick and die mysteriously, not knowing that the very food and drink they trust are the same tools destroying their lives. They blame heaven for their suffering, forgetting that heaven already warned them to be careful of what they eat and drink. Yes. Olivia was caught. But know this, there are still many Olivias walking among us, smiling sweetly while carrying evil in their hearts. They'll do anything to prosper, even if it means using your destiny to extend theirs. Be wise. Be prayerful. Be careful. And remember, evil may hide, but it never escapes forever. In the end, Olivia faced the full wrath of the law, and ended just like her victims. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll by. Subscribe, like, and share so others can learn from Olivia's fall. Comment your thoughts below. Have you ever seen something like this before? Stories like this aren't meant to be heard alone. Let them reach everyone who still believes evil can hide forever.